1 Thessalonians 5. I'm going to read it here right now. We're especially getting a proper view of the pastor. And something very interesting comes up tonight. Let me read 1 Thessalonians 5. We're going to start in 12. We urge you, brethren, to recognize those who labor among you and are over you in the Lord and admonish you, and to esteem them very highly in love for their works' sake. Be at peace among yourselves. Now we exhort you, brethren, warn those who are unruly, comfort the fainthearted, uphold the weak, be patient with all. See that no one renders evil for evil to anyone, but always pursue what is good, both for yourselves and for all. There's some tough stuff there. The next one starts with rejoice always. Rejoice always. Right from Philippians chapter 4. Let's pray. Lord, give wisdom. Give me the wisdom of your words through Paul. Your word is sound, pure, holy, right. To all generations, let us be edified tonight. And tonight we see a little sharing of the ministry, of what the ministry is, and then the sharing of the congregation in the ministry. And help us all to do that. Help us all to do our parts. And then comes the day where something we don't normally don't do, but we're thrown into it. Just a situation throws us into kind of an elder role or a shepherd role that we need to deal with something as a mature Christian. So let us all mature in the Lord, and let us be thankful, Lord. I am for my pastors of my life now, of men around that I know, and elders, and also certainly of the past. We pray to Christ's name, amen. We had that you're certainly going to, it is certain that we're going to God, absolutely. There's a verse on that. And then we moved to a proper view of pastors. There's a little bit we left off, but number one is really all we did. Sheep should welcome correction from their shepherds, knowing that we've all far to go. The shepherds also always remember that a shepherd is also a sheep. He is a sheep, and we're little children. And here's 90-year-old John, and he called them little children. 1 John, my little children, my little children. But he also was a child of God. And in years, we're little children. You live to 90 or 100. Oh, you're a little child. Compared to the Lord, the wisdom of the Lord, that he's not even accrued any wisdom. He just has he's the Ancient of Days. We have in 1 Peter 5, shepherd the flock. We had this, I just want to read it. Shepherd the flock of God, which is among you. This is for pastors, serving as overseers, not by compulsion, but willingly, not for dishonest gain, but eagerly, nor as being lords over those entrusted to you, but being examples to the flock. And when the chief shepherd appears, you will receive the crown of glory that does not fade away. I want to show you this little Hindu god. You ever see this? You've seen this somewhere. Usually this is Durga. I don't know a lot about Durga. I had to look it up. Usually each hand is holding a weapon. All kinds of weapons. You'll see this. One time I was on Antiques Roadshow, and I think I'm getting older because I kind of like Antiques Roadshow. You know you're getting older when you like an Antiques Roadshow. It's very interesting. I always return it. And actually it's really fascinating. You learn a lot of history. And they had one of these, just an old one, but you don't know how old. It could have been made for tourists, 1920. And that thing was like 400 years old, and it was a lot of money. And she had weapons and all. A lot of the hands were broken off over the years, but. But I'll mention who Durga is, a goddess of the Hindus. She was the combined power of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, deities, false deities of the Hindu. She went out and defeated, I guess, the buffalo god Mahishasura, and she defeated the buffalo demon. So it's just crazy mythology. I always am interested in mythology, ancient mythology, Norse, Roman, Greek, any of them, and then you get the Bible, and it's really There's no comparison. Though there's miracles in both, and the Greeks had, Sam has Hercules, but there's no comparison at all to them. Multiple arms with multiple weapons usually, showing her immense power. She was a warrior goddess. She was one that would defeat enemies. She's usually riding on a lion or a tiger. Well, I put a picture of her up here because I wish I had that many arms. Especially around October, November, December. I wish I had those arms. Pastors put on a lot of hats. What they need is a lot of arms, is what they need. And by the way, together, that is us. I'm your arms, you're my arms. We work together and we help in every little thing, in every large thing. The things that you do, it's a big help and it's appreciated. I want to just mention these things because some of these things I won't exemplify at all, but you think I'm good at all these things? But here are kind of things pastors find themselves doing. Most of it's wonderful, but in preaching, even preaching with, I won't say 3 sermons, but usually there's, of course, 2 sermons, formally 2 sermons. They're not the same sermon. We're not doing a night sermon that was in the morning sermon, so people that missed it or people that worked the first shift on a weekend, could hear a sermon. It's a wholly different thing. And then we're going to be looking at getting me off for a quarter or so, whatever, so I could join Sunday school and have someone else teach it. We're going to be doing that, but a lot of times I'm teaching Sunday school and I was talking to an area local pastor. It's a smaller church. They really couldn't get him where he wasn't working, but he's got no family, no kids, just a guy just working. The church doesn't have any programs, anything where he's doing this and this and this and that. He only preaches on Sunday morning. They have no Sunday school, no Sunday evening, and they wanted to start Sunday school. And he was balking at it. He was balking at Sunday school. I don't know how I'm going to get time. I don't know how I'm going to get time, but I'm going to get time. And they started Sunday school. How many? No Sunday school. Small church. How many came out? First week, 12. And then they had like 5 or 6 or 8, that were coming out. All ages, they all get together. The numbers don't matter. That doesn't matter. But, I certainly didn't say, you want to know how much I have to study? And, then there's John Wesley, who's doing a sermon every day, literally. Sometimes, he would sometimes average 2 sermons a day. He would do all these sermons. Every Monday he was preaching, Tuesday, Wednesday, the circuit riding preacher. But they certainly have sermons to write. They're always in the center of correcting and restoring. The bigger the church, that's not always so, but even there, so even like John MacArthur and the bigger churches of 8,000, no, they don't do every one of those. They can't do that, but they're at the center of what's going on, which is very heartbreaking many times. And you don't come here crying if you had a bad Thursday, and you don't come here crying on a Sunday. You try to do the opposite of that, but your heart breaks 1,000 times in that. And I'm glad it's not all the time. It's much more good than bad, but it happens, and it affects us grievously. Somehow, even in a mega church, they're in charge of all services and all events. Not that they're there, not that they're managing, but there's an element that they're given oversight to all of that. With anything of defense, defending the truth and defending the church, pastors right in the center of that. We get so much help with cleanup, but there's still cleanup to the cleanup. There just is. There's every week there's so many chores you do. People are helping. There's people that come in and put things away in that and there, but there's no way to get it all done. You're not going to get it all done after a play. I'm so blessed. And we pile it all out. We get it all in. We get it over there. But then we got to sort through it. There's no way to even help with that hardly, where all that goes and that. But there's a lot of cleanup things that you do. Any ministry plan for the church, any advancement of the church, not that they're all my ideas, Lord forbid, but a lot of times it's my ideas. A lot of things like, let's try this, let's go for that. And so in that I had a wonderful hour in a pastoral training somewhere, I think it was in Grand Rapids, where they were talking about the kind of guys, and there's pastors and elders and workers, that are on the committees and stuff, and there's some are really good with conceiving the idea, others are really good at pulling off the idea, administering the idea. And not necessarily the same guy. I come up with lots of ideas, and I do pretty good, managing to get things off, but along the way there's things, that we get involved in that we're not really necessarily good in. But if it is new plans to advance the church, we're there in the forefront of it. There's secretarial duties. I don't even want to talk about that. There's the calling that needs to go on. I'm thankful for the calling that goes on, but hospitality and calling, generally speaking, is really bad in our churches. In American churches, we're bad with hospitality and we're bad with calling, reaching out to people. We just reach out to a friend or two, but we don't reach out to a lot of people in that. There's people there's people in the churches that break that, blessedly, and they go to a lot of visitation, helping people in there, but we don't do enough in hospitality. It's just that American culture in there that we need to overcome. But a pastor's involved with it a lot. And then there's a responsibility to the community, with preaching sometimes in the community, with different things I'm asked to do in the community. I won't go into it, but it comes up. It comes on a regular basis. Can you do this? Can you do that? That's important. You can't do everything, but that is important because it puts us out in the community. And a pastor has some responsibility with that. And then again, every disappointment and every bump, it's felt by everybody, but not a pastor. It's just, it all is there, and it lays on his heart in there. So with it, there's a lot to get done in all of our jobs and all of our lives. I don't think I'm more busy than anybody. I do not. I don't. We are busy. We have a lot of things that are calling on us to do. And with it, I do have a lot of advice for young preachers. I've shared it here and there different times, but I've accrued it a little bit some years ago. I accrued some of that advice that every minister needs to learn, and I sometimes able to share it to a younger pastor in the area. But one thing is, and others tell me this is true, I don't know it's to be true at all, but when you do like surveys and stuff, they find that this is true, that in a lot of churches, pastors are not self-starters. You have to be a self-starter. You have to be a self-starter. You have to get it done, get it going, because there's no one here, And even in churches with small staff, during the week, it's just a few people, couple, 3 people, and you can easily dodge a lot of things, and you don't want that to happen. Being lazy in studies, there's a lot of things calling on you, but you do not. Laziness is one of the worst problems with pastors. It is. I'm told that. This is what I've heard from a lot of people, and I do believe it, and I have come across it. Hebrews 13, remember, this is Hebrews 13:7. Maybe just listen to this. Remember those who rule over you, who have spoken the word of God to you. This is another passage that's similar. Whose faith follow, considering the outcome of their conduct. Verse 7, I want to read in the BBE, another translation. I like it there. Keep in mind those who are over you and who gave you the word of God, seeing the outcome of their way of life. Let your faith be like theirs. I like that. Seeing the outcome of the way of their lives, let your faith be like theirs. And that's a very key point. Being examples to the flock. Job one for every pastor is family. Job one. There's an immediate job 2, 3, 4, and 5. But you don't have your family in order. It's just a terrible, terrible, terrible thing. It's really bad. Not that you can give them an order and they better not, fail at anything or none of this, sin struggles. No, they all struggle. They have every struggle we all do. But with that, my thing from the beginning was to un-PK them. I don't want any preacher's kids. And what we do put upon the girls is being a Christian. We're Christians when they're young. I'm a Christian. It's a Christian family. You're not trusting the Lord, but we don't act. The Bible teaches us not to act that way. We don't act disrespectful. We do not need 3 calls from parents. We don't need 2 calls from parents. It's disrespectful We answer parents on the first call. We work together. They listen to you. You talk to them. You listen to them. You talk to them. We do this all together. So being that good example in things, but we're not sinless. No pastor is sinless. But with that, being a good example to the flock, obeying those who rule over you, and be submissive, for they watch out. This is Hebrews 13:17. For they watch out for your souls as those who must give an account. I do not have to give an account for your life. I have to give an account that I dealt with you. I preached the whole counsel of Scripture in Acts 17. I preached the whole counsel of Scripture, and anything that you needed, I provided, was willing to provide, did provide, am there to provide, not perfectly or anything, but I'm willing to help in any way. And I've been called many times for many things to help in many different ways in tough situations, and that I would see to it that you had everything. And then when it comes to warnings, that I gave account, I'm going to give account for your soul, and I want it to be, Bill, you told them. You told them, Fred and Susan and Sammy, what to do. They wouldn't listen. You stood in there. You got to stand in the gap. If you're a parent, you got to stand in the gap. If you're a leader, you got to stand in the gap. If you're a teacher in a class, you got to, Sunday school, sometimes it gets hard. VBS, it gets hard, whatever. You got to stand in the gap and do the right thing. And so pastors sure better stand in that gap. And obey them and show submission to them. To not do that would be unprofitable for you. It's the word for loosen and the word for setting out for a goal. To loosen is used especially for divorce. These are two different words. The word for loosen and the word for setting out for a goal, to aim for something. I think the best illustration would be that you're setting out, you loose from the docks, and you set out on a voyage, okay? That would be profitable. They would go on voyages. It was almost always commerce, even in the transporting of people. It was something of commerce. And so you set out to do something good, to be profitable. No one sends out a pilgrim ship or anything for it to be unprofitable. They want to make money at it, okay? And then it has the prefix, to not be profitable. To not be profitable. The word, I'm going to use the word with that illustration. To be loosed, to go out, to be profitable. You're going to go to the Caribbean. It's going to be a Caribbean cruise. They take off the ropes. I've seen them take off ropes. I was on one cruise. They took off the ropes here and here, maybe third one down or fourth one down. Took off ropes, all the way down. Very interesting the way they come in and go out. It's amazing. They will come in, that big ship will come in, and they will touch the side of that rubberized side. They'll touch it as hard as this. That's how they're good. I tried to get out the window every time we landed, especially landing. They were so good. So we set off. We're loose from shore. We have our headings, we have our bearings, we have our radars, we have our training, the training that's going on with all the staff. They're well trained, the mechanics, the doctors. They have a doctor, they have nurses on board. There's a sick bay. They have all that. And then not. And then the word prefix not. You set out to be profitable, but you're not. My job is to see that you are fortified with it. I'm there to see that you can be most and I'm not talking about money. And I don't exempt money. It's also tied to money. But for you to be most profitable in life, for you to succeed in life, not with Tony Roberts, whatever the guy's name was, these self-help things, not this. Biblical wisdom for you to prosper in difficult things and everyday things. I'm there that it would be profitable. If I don't do that, you're not going to be profitable. If I do it and you don't listen and don't submit to it, then that's not profitable in there. So take out the and be loose from port and go do good things for the Lord. I won't go to the story. I had a story for each, but I'll just say it. My dad taught me to drive. Lisa Lean taught me to live. There was others, but Lisa Lean was in the trenches with me and taught me how to live. Lee did a better job than my dad because I went from go-karts at 12, maybe 10 times go-karts, to driving his car, his big Buick. The thing was like a tank, you know? It was the world's first Hummer. It was this Buick. It had one of those engines, you pick it up and you can like climb inside there. It was like, you know, there's no room. You can't put a handkerchief inside. And there you can stick your head in anywhere. It's this really big space. But he had this big old Buick. And I came around the corner. I was like 12 years old, running maybe 15, 16. But now I'm driving a car, and I never drove a car. You do it at driver's ed where you're going real slow. But then I'm going around, and one time I turned. I could take you to the corner, a tavern right there. I don't know if it's 64th Street or 65th Street, but it was right there. I could take you right to the corner. And I turned, and I almost hit those cars. And my dad, it's like an amusement park ride. And then I overcompensated this way and overcompensated one. So it was like this and this and this. I'm trying, Dad. And here's the problem. Here's the success of Lee and the problem with my dad. The success of Lee is he would get me to put my hands into it. He would get me to do it. He would teach it, and then we're going to do it. And you're going to talk to me about it. And my dad, it was like go-karts and then this Hummer, you know. And I don't know what I did. When I rode his car, I don't know what it was. I did a go-kart last. And go-karts are really different, you know. But it was like out here, you know, my girls, 11, 12, 13, 14, they were driving over at Vic's house and Dan's house. They're driving those, you know, roads over there. So they were really good at handling a car, you know. My dad didn't put me into it. He didn't get me to do it and have me touch it and do it with lots of practice and little and then more and then more and then more. A pastor will do that. Number 2, the greatest respect you can show to a pastor is to live in harmony with your brethren. For the sake of time, I'm just going to read it, 13 and 14. And to esteem them, 13 and 14 of our passage, very highly, in love, for their work's sake, be at peace amongst yourselves. That would be his sheep, you know, his sheep. Be at peace among yourselves. 15. See that no one renders evil for evil to anyone, but always pursue what is good, both for yourselves and for all. So do the brotherly unity, good things, especially those who sin against you, especially those that do you wrong, or you think they've done you wrong, or they could have done a better job. There's a 1,000 reasons that might have happened. And do the king's business and find out what was going on, but have a gentle, kind heart. Number 3, help the shepherd with these 4. Help the shepherd with these 4. Look at this. Verse 14. Now, we exhort you, brethren. They all sound pastoral. Warn those who are unruly. That's pastors. Comfort the fainthearted. Pastors. Uphold the weak. Pastors. Be patient with all. Pastors. Those 4 things. It's not only for the shepherds. All shepherds are sheep, and sheep are regularly shepherds. They must leave. If someone sins against you, you got to go alone. Pastor, I can't. You cannot drag a third party into it. You have to talk to them. I could go there if you've talked to them, but you need to talk to them alone. And so there's lots of times, if this is a healthy church right here, if the congregation is also dealing with those who are unruly, those are comforting the faint-hearted, upholding the weak, being patient with all. Warn those who are unruly. Remember this picture and put it in your mind. I learned this years ago, and I don't even think it's from a Christian, but I agreed with it, and I use it for Christianity. In life, there are 3 sorts. There's broad category extremes in every one of these divisions, but in life, you are either a sheep, or you are a shepherd, or you are a lion, a predator. Any of these could be in a church. There's some churches with shepherds that aren't shepherds, you know. But hopefully there's a good shepherd in the church, and hopefully the sheep are good. But everybody is a good leader or a follower. It's great to be either one. And then there are things that come up with those that are unruly. It would be loose cannons, those that are a law unto themselves. They just do things their way. There might be some church rules. I mean, the way we do things, it might be things that we put in the Constitution that, no, I don't think I'm going to do that. I don't think I'm going to do that. We want to warn those that are unruly, knowing that, don't treat them like they're an invader. Don't treat them that way, but knowing that some even are there to cause trouble. That's why they're there. They cause trouble. They cause trouble at this Bible church. They cause trouble at that Baptist church. They cause trouble at that Lutheran church. That's what they do. It's their profession. Don't ask me why a life like that, but there are those. Not just the pastor, but everybody. It comes to you. You see it. Warn them. Admonish them. Reproof gently. This word is used for all those. Warn them. It's used to admonish them. It's used to reproof them gently. Don't turn a blind eye to it. Talk to them and deal with problems. B, or the second one here, comfort the faint-hearted. Now we exhort you, brethren, verse 14, warn those who are unruly, comfort the faint-hearted. King James has feeble-minded. And we have a whole other use for feeble-minded today, and I would not use that translation. Back then, maybe it made sense, but feeble-minded. One of the root words to build this word is puny, little. So little should be in it somewhere. And some say literally it's little-spirited. They are little-spirited. Let me take you where maybe what we're talking about here. The dispirited. Those that are knocked about, those that have been kicked, those that have been beat up, those that have been troubled. Suffer loss. Comfort them. Be a friend. Perfect time to be slow to speak. Listen. Sometimes you listen, and there's times where there's something I should say because it's not quite right, but this isn't the time. Yeah, they're wrong about that, but this isn't the time. And that I would be aware that there's some things I'll hear and that's not going to help that night. Not that night. There's other things going on. No, they weren't perfect with that. Maybe leave that alone. They're not really the unruly here. And they need people that are little-spirited people who have been kicked around. We need to give comfort one to another. We need to do more than just tell them you're going to pray with them. Actually pray with them, even on a Sunday morning. But to be a friend, that's all this is really saying. To be a friend to people that are in church. When you see a ship come along another ship, what's going to happen? They're going to fight. That's what the movies say. One ship gets close to another ship, the doors come up, cannons, ablaze. And then, this is, the idea is that really, but not to fight. When a Christian comes along, another Christian, let it not be to fight, but let it be to encourage. Encourage those that have little spirits or are dispirited or have been knocked down. Maybe it's even partly or largely their fault. And I know that we got to be careful here because they maybe have to find another way. But they just lost their third job. They feel bad about that. Well, it's mostly your fault. I wouldn't do that right then. I wouldn't do that right then. And they're down, and you go down with them. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Weep with those who weep. And comfort the faint-hearted. Let us come alongside people as the Holy Spirit comes along and gives help and comfort. Sometimes I will hear things, and I will deal with it another day. I want to put it in reverse, Fred. You said something, I want to help you in this. You were going to do this. Did you do this? You said, maybe I should do this. And I was, did you do that? Well, no, I didn't think it was a very good idea. Let's talk about that. I know you were brokenhearted right then. Let's talk about that. So there is correction. There may have to be correction right then. There maybe has to be, I've been there with people who are dispirited and they're planning to do something. You got to stop. Don't do that. That's a wrong thing to do. Well, I'll talk to you. Let's put down everything. That is not the way. Do not go. Even if you're right, you can't go in that attitude. So there are times to do correction in there, but be a friend. And C, uphold the weak. It's right in our verse. We had the third thing here. Now we exhort you, brethren, warn those who are unruly, comfort the faint-hearted, uphold the weak. Support. The idea is support. That's the idea here in that word uphold. Support. Some struggle. When I say weak, they might just be weak right now with what's going on in their lives, but I think these are those that are more chronically weak. They struggle, they don't have much, they know it, they act it. That's not true, but they truly are people that'll never be alpha dog, no version of being alpha dog. They're just, when I say weaker, they just have that gentler spirit, and they need help. They need help, they need assistance. We have Paul's doing what he preaches in 1 Corinthians 9:22. To the weak, I became weak. I got down there with them, that I might win the weak. I've become all things to all men, that I may by all means save some. I learned a lesson in our first week, the 3 times we did teen bike trips. The first one was to Montague, which is north of Muskegon, and over to Greenville, or whatever that is, Greenville, and we biked the big loop. The second one, we went to Indiana Dunes. From here to Indiana Dunes, we biked along the way. I was in my 30s, 40s, and I biked with them. I didn't want to do any riding, but Abel did most of that, and it was fun. And now I would fly to Montague and wait for them to get there. And then, But anyway, and we had problem because we had your sons, Nick and Kyle. We had Jonathan, and there was others. Wasn't a big group, not a lot more, but those guys are animals. And we had a girl, I think her name is Casey. I'll use her name. I had no idea where she came to us, but she wasn't in shape, physically weak. She wasn't in shape, and she just had a hard time keeping up with them at all. I mean, really hard time. She was having, we're going out the first day. What am I going to do? The first day we made it to, not a full day, we made it to Gull Lake. And we stayed the night in the Gull Lake area. What are we going to do? I'm going to do it. I decided what to do, and this is a good lesson. I said, I got to solve this. It's not going good. She's struggling. She wants to ride with April. She just feels, the boys were generous to her. They weren't at all, come on, get it going, Casey. They didn't do any of that. And I came up with an idea. The Lord really helped me. I first talked to the strong. Said, I'm going to do something. You're only as good as your weakest link. We're going to put her out in front. Let her go her own speed, and you will stay at her speed. You will not pass her. And I bet she'll do even better. We won't keep her out there because that can be just, it's good to follow too, break the wind, not just the geese. It does it on biking too, break that wind. But we will put her out there, and you're going to follow her. And do you agree? Oh, the guys are, yes, yeah, sure. I want Casey to have a good experience. But here we are when Casey's doing it. It's like I don't know what I could have done. I could have probably written part of the church play while I'm there, like, okay. It was just going so slow. But we went faster than them going. And I said, if you look back, you can't see us, you got to stop. And they'd be on a far hill, and they're waiting for us to come. And it made her feel so bad. When we put her out in front, she perked up, and she did better. The third part of that equation is knowing when to cut those animals loose. And when we got to about 3 miles to the town, go, boys, you can go. And they were they're all racing into town. It was so funny. And Casey had no problem with that. But it really helped us a lot in that week. Casey took the lead. We have the weakest link. It used to be a show. You are the weakest link. Goodbye. Could you imagine? Let's instigate that. The weakest link program in the church. You're the weakest link. Goodbye. Goodbye. You're the weakest link. Goodbye. We need to uphold the weak, support the weak. And lastly, we need to be patient with all. Be patient. Let's read it. Be patient with all. Everybody, but that guy gets my goat. You got to be patient with all. I get, it's out there, it's true, the rumor, I get mad sometimes. And I get too mad sometimes. And when I get mad, when I catch myself, and when I get mad, it's usually things exterior from the church or life, It's almost always exterior. When I get too mad, April. Here's what I'll say. It always gets a laugh. Could you imagine? I'm just thankful that I'm a patient man. She almost spits out whatever she's eating or drinking. Could you imagine if I wasn't patient? Do you see how mad I got? And if I wasn't patient, and she knows I'm calming myself down because being impatient is not going to do any good. Here's some patient words. Let me try some patient words on you. It's all right. You can do it. Just try again. Would you do that? There's some people, they won't even let their kids do it until they're like teenagers. Oh, they're going to break it. He's going to break it. Then buy some cheaper, dishes. Not let him break it, but in trying to do it. And the times your kids have broken something, this and that. I remember one of our kids went running with a big thing of pail of paint. Big paint, and he's hustling it in, and he fell, and the paint went out, and it's going down. You know, in all those TV shows where the blood just sows out from the body, and everyone's going, whoa! And fortunately, we had Adam Porter here, and everyone looked at him, and here's the kiddo. He's not here tonight. I said, oh, did you try to do that? Were you being reckless? No, I wasn't. Then that's called an accident. Do you know what an accident is? It happens to me all the time. Here it is. Let me put it on there. Now, take it and carry it the rest of the way. Get it the rest. It's an accident. And I couldn't believe Adam got that all out of there. I said, we're going to have a white spot. It was all white paint. It might have been this paint right here. We're going to have white paint right there. But it's all right. You could do it. Try again. And one day then they will encourage them. I liked in the first Rocky movie, it's not all good in Rocky. I saw it before I was a Christian. There's some things in Rocky, but there was, all in all, it's a pretty good movie. It's a pretty good movie. And him seeing something in Adrian, if that was her name. Yo, Adrian. Yeah, it's Adrian. I always forget if I go, yo, Adrian. Can anyone understand who's like, whoa, terrible diction. But he saw something in the first movie. In that very homely girl, he saw something there. And that's what it is with patience. You see something, and you just got to believe it's there. You got to believe it's there. There's one girl that would always break things, and she's always helping me when we're moving or stuff, or boxes full of ornaments, whatever. She's going, here we go, and she wasn't reckless. And always, hold it, And she grabbed a mirror, one of our mirrors. We're moving it in. We're moving, I'll take it out. And I said, can you do it? Yes. That needs two men. You grab that side, I'll grab this side. And we got it. And I'm kind of holding it like here and here for whatever she's always dropping in that. But she needs someone to say, you can do it. Let's just try that again. Patience. Try this one. You might try it this way. Show them. Let me show you this way. Show them and then let them do it. Show them a better way. That's good. Then let them do the better way. A third thing, I struggle with that too. They might really look up, kids definitely look up, what? I struggle with that too. And tell them a story that they've never heard. I'm going to tell you a story here right now just because I got to tell it. Just because no, I'll save it. No, I got a meeting to go to. But it's juicy. It's out there. It's a juicy one. I'm going to tell you a juicy story. I'm bringing that story back. But the story would remind you, you did that, Pastor? That was kind of dumb. Yes, I'm kind of dumb. And so I've struggled. I've done foolish things. And be respectable in their sight, but not a false respect that you never do anything wrong. Let them know that you failed the same way. It's okay. And lastly, many people have a hard time with that. Is this not true? Many people have a hard time with that. Maybe you don't. Maybe you really don't struggle in that area. You're very good at that area. Hey, many people. Me with acting. Oh, Pastor, you can do those voices. You can do everything like that. I've always had those voices since I was a dumb kid wasting his time in the mirror upstairs and mimicking cartoons and whatever. But I was afraid. And I love to say, I couldn't do what you've already done. I couldn't do this standing up in front. I couldn't. I'm telling you, time after time, I had stage fright that I didn't gradually overcome. I immediately overcame it because I'm not going to be afraid anymore. Not as a Christian, I wasn't going to be afraid. Many have hard time with that. Susan, Freddie, because they think they're alone. I'm just such a dope. I can't do anything. Did you ever hear kids say that? I can't do anything. And everybody can do something. Everybody is a genius in 1 or 2 or 3, 4 things. Everybody. If someone is a genius at nothing, they haven't found it yet, and you haven't helped them. Help them find their genius, what they're really, really good at. You will blow them away when they discover that. I didn't think I could ever do anything. I'm really good at that. Everybody has several geniuses, at least one. And we'll leave it there with this song. Can we sing? Oh, I loved it. Hey, the church can help me. Even with 4 pastoral things, you do it too and help us out. And together, we can all do it. We're doing this together, right? We're living our lives together. We're going forward together. Lead me to Calvary.